Lewis Chen. The first time I met you, I'd already known that you're a smart guy, so I offered you a job and you rejected it. I can't believe it. I was persistent, and I and the whole team are very happy that you accepted the job. We all know that you've made a big difference, Lewis. You know you've made a big difference. And one of the highlights was you going on stage in Rome in front of a group of your colleagues who are in Rome with you. And you accepted the Innovation of the Year award, which you were the driving force behind. And normally people would make a speech, but Lewis Chen takes the award and sits down. That's the humble Lewis that we've come to love. And you've been through your challenging times with the loss of your eyesight. And what I will say is what I see now. I see a guy who seems more humorous, more personable, and actually you're really busy. You know, it's not unusual for me to call you and you say, George, I'm busy. Can we talk another time? Well, congratulations. Today, it's Billy that you're talking to on LinkedIn. I look forward to that WebEx talk that will feature the Lewis that we love and admire. And the talk will be relevant to everyone, how to lead your best life. Congratulations, Lewis. You're leading your best life and you're inspiring many people, including the people on Mother's webinar right now. You take care.
Hello, good afternoon, welcome. This is Mother from Hearts&Minds Development Center. And yes, hi Sundaraj, and I have a very good friend. His name is Lewis Chen. So, no, it almost sounds like this is like my pickup line, right? I never liked this guy. So I was just telling Lewis that he is so lucky I ended up liking him, you know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and now I think I'm lucky because he said yes to me. So for the people who have joined us, hi Lewis, hi Joe, Louis Joki Morais, it's my good friend. Hi Sundar, thanks for joining us. Now, this interview is really, really special because I generally don't have to work so hard to get my guest on this seat. But generally, Louis is a difficult guy. You would have seen the introduction from George. You know, he doesn't even like you need to get an appointment from him. So, Louis Chen, thank you so much for saying yes.
You're welcome, Mother. It's a great pleasure to be here. I really enjoy your company.
Oh, did you all hear that? He enjoys my company, George. I hope you heard that. George, he doesn't usually say that he's busy with me, so I think it's not him, you know, but I think it's just... Yeah. So for those who don't know George, I want to thank George for the introduction because, you know, I think I met Louis when he, umpteen years ago, when I first started off in training, when he was with People Potential, and, you know, Terry Neto, the CEO then, and I think now, introduced me to Louis, and this guy refused to talk to me. So it really hit my ego because I was thinking, like, everybody likes me. Why doesn't Louis like me, right? And so I had to just prove that, you know, Louis will like me. We became friends, and Louis, at all times, has been either an official coach or an unofficial coach when he's in the friendship mode. Today, I am feeling really, really blessed and privileged to have him because, as you can see, and if you decided to tune in today, hi, Michael. Louis inspires me, and today's topic is really about embracing love. Because when I asked Louis to come in, because as he was going through this transition in his life where he's visually becoming impaired, I get to speak to him, not so regularly, but when I get to speak to him, he is inspiring me with his amazing strength. And I thought we should bring the story up. I'm going to say hello to Michael Teo. Hello, Mother and Louis, Team Thriving Talents here, cheering and rooting for you as our advisor. Whoa, wait, now you've become not only a coach to all of us, but an advisor. Thank you, Michael, for shouting out. And we needed the shout out. So let's quickly go into this interview because I think Louis has got loads of nuggets of wisdom that will come in a very melancholy way. and probably followed by the laughter. So tell us, Louis, tell us how is it for you, being a person that I know who enjoys reading, enjoy observing, enjoy asking questions. I know I cannot say the journey is difficult because I can't even imagine how it feels, right? But tell us, how has this journey transitioning into losing your sight and coping with it been for you?
Obviously, it's been very challenging. I struggled with this disease or condition called glaucoma for many years since I was a teenager. And I remember visiting like many doctors. Like, probably I've seen up to 20 doctors in my life, eye specialists. And they would just say the same thing. We can't do anything for you, we can manage it for you, but at some point you're probably going to lose your sight. And that fear basically drove me to take medications, drove me to go for operations, and it came to a hit, I think, a couple of years ago, probably during the MCO period, where my sight really deteriorated quite badly. And I must say, I'm very grateful to George. George was my employer at the time, and he tried his best to keep me on. George, for probably a 6-month period, we hired someone to help me do all the legwork, but it just didn't get better. And I froze in fear for 6 months at least, I think. I just could not operate, I could not function, I could not say anything in the meetings. And it was because I was afraid that it would just all go away completely the next day and it'd be totally gone. I remember getting panic attacks, so I remember not being able to sleep because I would tell myself, if I closed my eyes and I opened it when I woke, I won't see anything. So I refused to go to sleep. And that grew very tiring after a while. But fortunately, I had many, I would say, supporters, friends, family, people I didn't know who came by my side and helped me through that difficult period. It's still difficult, but I think I've gotten out of that hole I was in, that, oh, woe is me, it's the end of the world, and I might as well die or kill myself or something.
Oh my gosh. So I'm just going to read out what Michael has said. Michael says, "Thank you, George, for your endless kindness and love. Because of you, another kind soul like Louis can help more lives." Thank you, Michael. And thank you, George. George is, I always say, he's my wind under my wings, who believed in me more than I ever believed in myself. But George, we need to do an interview on you. But now it's about Louis. So tell me, so I understand fight, flight, freeze, right? And you say you froze for 6 months. How does it how does the feeling of being frozen but then not being able to contribute, right? How did that feel for you? Because I know that you said George tried to keep you, but I'm also very sure George tried to keep you because we all have benefited from all your contribution all the years. Even though I never paid for your contribution, right? But we know that, right? Every conversation with you enriches life. I mean, for me, right? And I'm sure it's true for everybody. And George would have only done that not just because he's kind, but he knows that you can contribute. But how did that feel for you to have been a great contributor? Because you're a great contributor wherever you go. That we know. We have evidences now on video, right? But when you say you felt frozen and you couldn't contribute, how did that feel? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think, as a man, I would say, as a husband, I wanted to bring home, the money. Well, my wife. I wanted to bring value to the team. I've always, I think under George, kudos to George. I mean, he brought out something in me that wasn't brought out earlier. Nothing against my ex-company. I love Terry. Okay.
Hey, only Terry.
Yeah.
I'm sure Terry is watching. Okay, Terry, he still loves you. Okay, but Terry doesn't deal with emotions.
Yeah.
It's
So George was able to bring that confidence out early on. And I remember a conversation I had with him very distinctly. I think he sensed that I felt I wasn't bringing enough value. So he said to me, I'm not trying to make you into the previous guy, Chong Yu, and I took over Chong Yu's place as an instructional designer. And Chong Yu was very good at what he did.
Yeah.
And George said, you are you, you're not Chong Yu. And that really released me to be myself. Nice. Right, really released me to really contribute, to talk, to discuss, to debate with George. Because George was like, why is Louis so quiet? I need him to challenge me, right? Okay, George, want me to challenge you? I'll do it.
He paid you to challenge him.
Yeah,
Okay.
Exactly. So that was really great. I mean, I had a great run in that sense. And the moment my sight started to deteriorate, for whatever reason, I said, I didn't say this to myself consciously, obviously. It was just, I don't feel I can bring that same kind of value. I can't look at the board, I can't look at the white wall, I can't look at the flip chart and do the things that I used to do. Obviously, I can't read the documents that I could read before. I couldn't type the way I could. I couldn't produce the kind of slides that I used to. And all that really made me feel like, George, I can't do this now. And George was very kind. George said, okay, we'll hire someone to help you. But again, because of the fear that I had, I just froze. And I said to George, it's not fair to you to continue this. Because George said, I know you're still there in there somewhere. You still have a mind, you still can talk, you have people to help you, you can do this. But I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe I could do it, given the impairment. So I said, George, I'm probably at 5% of what I should be. So I said, okay, never mind. We just call it a day. So I went off. I got Soxo, and thank God for Soxo. Thanks for paying, guys, my Soxo. So now I want Soxo, right? And that's been a lifeline for me because that gave me a chance to, in a sense, regather myself. I wouldn't say re-energize. I think it's more like, talking to lots of people made a huge difference, especially blind people. So thanks to my elder sister, I got in touch with some blind folk, and they've shown me that it's possible to live a very meaningful and impactful life, even though you're blind. And that was one of the key turning points. Obviously, my wife has been a solid, strong support all the way. I mean, without her, I wouldn't be here. She does all those small little things that you take for granted, right? So, for example, now I can't. It's come to a point I can't see what's on the table anymore, and I can't see my food. So I can't say, oh, I want this and bring it. I don't have the independence. She will bring the food and give it to me. She's always done that, but now I think I appreciate it much more. Right? The fact that she's been able to do that is a way, I guess, of experiencing her love for me in a different way, right? In a way that I probably took for granted, in the past that I don't know. So that feeling is one of worthlessness, I would say, value, like not being of value, not being able to contribute. And I had to really come to grips with that life and say, wait a minute, is that all that I am? Is work all that I am? Is that who I am, right? As a person? If that's the only thing that makes me valuable, something's not right? I mean, I think we're all human beings. We all have value inherent in us, regardless of what quote unquote the world tells us we need to bring to the table to make it valuable, right? A simple conversation with my friend was of immense value to me, much more than he could ever have known. Because he didn't judge me, he didn't try to make me feel better. He just talked to me like a friend, right? And he just listened to me spouting my fears daily. Daily I would call him and tell him how afraid I was. And he would just pick up the phone and answer me. I mean, that was of immense value. Much more than a lot of the other things that I could have envisioned what I thought was value. I don't know, does that make sense? It's answering your question in a roundabout way.
No, but that's Lewis. But you've given us, well, I've picked up quite a number of nuggets, and I'm just going to see whether I can draw more out of you for my own learning, right? Because I think what I'm getting is when you said that, how George tried to support you. And it seems to me, if I know George well enough, right, George is often focusing. So I loved what you said, that he wasn't trying to make a chongyo out of you. And that's what George is all about. He wants you to be your best version, right? And that's George, all right? And we try not to overdo this for George, okay? Right? And that's George. That's how he is. But the fact that he felt that he was focusing on what you could bring to the table. But what I heard from you, which I think all of us struggle, is that you were focused on not being able to do the things that you usually do.
Yes.
But those things, in my opinion, right, and I know you will always disagree with me, were things that were supporting all the things that you were actually great at. Writing on the board and making slides, there was just supporting the gift of your thinking, your creativity, your design work. It was all about your mind, right?
Yeah.
So it seemed to me that you had to go through this transition, that even though George was telling you your value, but you needed to find that out yourself. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought that up, because when I was in the deepest of deepest, darkest hole at that point, I asked myself, and I think different people helped me through this, including George, what was the thing that I could, in a sense, shape now that I don't have my sight, that I could, in a sense, bring back to the world, right? And you're right. It's the thinking, it's the creativity, it's the research. It's all of that input and the ideation, right? If you use StrengthsFinder, right? It's that ability to kind of string together a range of ideas to meet a certain need, right? And I think that was an insight. And the second insight I had, actually, after working with Josh for some time, was that I could write. I could produce material that I didn't think I could. And people actually found value in what I could write, you see. So then that started me on a pathway of, okay, maybe I should write some books. Yeah, so that was an interesting, I guess, insight as to what were some key things that I still had that were quote unquote valuable, that I could give back to the world.
Nice. So I'm trying to understand what you've actually said, because you've given us a lot, right? So George believed in you. George was focusing on what your true value was which is what are the things you can do, and what were those great things that you were specifically good at. And you said, you had challenge because you were focusing on all the other activities that supported what you were good at, and because of that you froze, because you keep telling yourself you can't do this, and you're not bringing in value, and you brought your value down to right down to 5% is what I heard you say, right? And then you also said that, you just decided you need to get out of that space and go and figure it out yourself. And, how your sister introduced you to other people. Because what it seems for me was that, you've always been a person who lives by your values, and you want to lead a meaningful life. That's been the same, the thing, right? If you join PP, that naturally happens to you. Terry brainwashes you that way. Now, but having said that, even though you were looking for meaning and you say, how your independence is affected, how your role, you begin to question your identity and your role and your worthiness, right? Which we all experience, but yours is like really huge. As you were going through that and you said you begin to understand from different worlds and you suddenly re-anchored yourself in meaning and purpose. That's what I'm saying. So you had meaning and purpose, but then you felt that was not there anymore because you're a different person now, or you're differently abled, right? And you went on a search and you said you found some stuff, based on the questions and your search, right? Now, I'm just wondering, if you look back at, say, what George had said to you, or people who believed in you, right? And I'm sure many people believe in you, right? And how did this journey of having to look for the answers yourself help you re-anchor?
I think if I were to reflect back, a lot of the things that I did to excel were because people told me that you needed to do it this way or that way, right? Client needs this, so do it this way. Right? I think when I had to detach from that and find my own meaning, I went into, okay, what do I really want to do or like to do, right? At that point, I would say my thinking was, I always like young people, so I should create a series of programs to help develop them. So that was my thinking. Right now, of course, I'm quite busy doing other stuff, but that still stays because in this new place that I'm in, I still can bring that in. Right? So I think by detaching myself in that sense from the requirements of the company and clients, it made me realize, wait a minute, actually you do have a deep desire in you that's been there. You just haven't paid attention to it for quite a while. So yeah, as you ask a question, I think probably it is helping the youth somehow to develop in ways that I did not get a chance to develop. And I think there's a lot of things that could help them with.
Nice. So, are you saying that discovery process, that space that you needed to let go of the love and help that you were getting, and to actually go into, for me, the darker space, right? To be alone and to be really dark and not knowing your worthiness, and to look for it.
But I didn't look for it in isolation, you see.
Right.
So it had to be in a discussion with someone or people. So I remember distinctly, I have a blind friend, his name is Mark. He's quite an amazing guy. He's blind, but he's a cybersecurity expert.
Mark.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to bring Mark on.
I'm not sure whether he'll be on.
Okay.
But he will be able to program security systems better than sighted people.
Wow.
Right. And it's that kind of inspiration, that kind of stories that would inspire me. And as I was talking to people like that, that's when my thoughts became clearer.
Nice.
As to, hey, maybe you should pay attention to this. And Mark would always, instigate, or he would prod me, or he would encourage me to think bigger. Think about, don't just think about one module. You have about 50 modules in you, okay? You just haven't found it yet.
Nice.
So it was both, back and forth discussion, and as well as an encouragement, prodding. But of course, it had to come with a trusting relationship that I had to build time with him. And that period was a long time of him listening to me and asking me questions, and every day I would call him at 8 a.m. in the morning and he would answer and I would talk to him, right? So it was that whole period of trust that needed to be built. As that got built, then the ideas started to flow as we worked along. those discussions. And it was interesting because in that blind community that I was in, they immediately recognized that I would probably be better paired with Mark than paired with someone else to discuss my life problems, because we were quite similar, right?
Okay.
We were at the professional level, and Mark also became blind later in his life rather than earlier. And so that was an interesting pairing with Mark as well.
So you were paired consciously.
I think so, because I came to another person. He was more of a counselor type,
Right.
David. I still am very good friends with David. And David said, I think you should talk to Mark.
Right,
So
right.
they brought Mark in and said, "Hey, this guy is having problems. Go talk to him." And that's how that relationship began.
Nice, nice. So I want to meet Mark for sure. But what I'm hearing from you is this, right? So you left and you were looking, and of course you went seeking, right? And what I'm getting to what I'm getting from your relationship with Mark is two things, right? Number one, you said you had y'all had built a trusting relationship, or rather, you had built trust in him, or that there was a way you formed the relationship. There was trust. Number one. Number two, the other thing that I'm hearing from you is that whether you're talking about all your friends who reached out to you, or David, or Mark, I think you need to find. It seems to me that you need to find someone whom you feel like gets you.
Yeah.
Because when you find someone who just gets you, then there's you don't we're together, right, in that space.
Yeah. I've been thinking about this, before this interview, like who were the different people? I think you need different people for different things.
Right.
And definitely, if you're going blind, you do need someone blind to talk to. I didn't appreciate this before going blind, but once I started to go blind, I realized that that's so important, because no one else can get you.
Yeah.
They can't.
Yeah.
No matter how hard you try to explain to them,
Yeah.
they're not going to get you, right?
Yeah.
And you need that bond and that empathy from that kind of person. My wife, as beautiful and wonderful as she is, will never be able to get that.
Yeah.
And it'll be unrealistic for me to expect her to do that anyway.
Right.
So you're right. You need that, and then you need other types of support now. So for my family, I had to, in a way, receive love from them. I had to say, "Hey, I don't have the money. I need you to help me. And one day when I get the money, I'll pay you back, right? Or whatever." I needed to get help from my wife to, as I say, cook for me, get food for me, take me out, guide me when I couldn't see. Same with all my colleagues that did it, or all my friends that did it. My little sister, my younger sister, was the one that helped me get my intellectual stimulation, because she's working for another training firm, and she said, I need help with proposal. Okay, help her, and that's where I got my intellectual stimulation from. So I guess I had different people coming into my life, giving me different support, and in a way I had to accept it. I had to depend on them. Not to say that I was overly dependent on them. I hope I wasn't, but in general, I had to say, I can't do this on my own. I need help, and yeah, if you were to give help, I'll take it.
Okay, so now that's so interesting, because we spoke about Mark, and I think what Patience says, I'm the best, right? She's put on a comment. Patience is the little sister who gave the intellectual stimulation. Patience, yes, you are the. Are you agreeing with Patience?
Yeah, you're the best. You're one of the best. I can't say you're the best. Everyone's the best. Okay.
That is so Louis Chen, Patience. You asked for it, So that's how honest and accurate Louis is. Yes, you are one of the best, and that's where you get Patience. Don't try harder. So Louis, what I thought was really like my own takeaway is that, number one, finding someone to truly empathize. And I think when you said, you needed another blind person, I think for those of us who may not be blind, I think this is the space of empathy that we're looking at, because sometimes we try hard, but we need to also acknowledge however we try, we just don't get it. It's not because we
There's
lack
nothing wrong
enough.
with your
Yeah. So, but
It's
we
just
just
not
don't.
there.
It's
Just
not
not there.
there,
Yeah.
right? So, and I think if we can acknowledge and accept that, and at some, so I think for me it would be like rejection is a lot more easier when I want to give love and it seems like my love is rejected, right? And what you're telling me is that there's a time and space for different people to contribute and for you to receive.
Yeah, and it's okay to say, I will never be able to empathize with you at that level, and that's fine. I totally get that.
Right. Nice.
I think what becomes difficult is when people try to empathize, but it's obviously
They don't get it.
they don't get it lah.
Yeah.
So I think it's great when you can do that.
Yeah.
So we all feel like, okay, we don't get each other, but that's all right. We still can help one another. We still can love one another. We can still support one another without that deep empathy, because it's just not possible for whatever reason.
Yeah. So while we can try, so I think on two sides, right? When we are trying to get our loved ones to understand and they don't get it, I think for us to say that actually it's okay, they don't get it. Now I know that they don't get it, but keep looking for the one who can get it.
Yes, I think that's important.
Don't stop
You
there.
still need someone to get it.
To get it, because you don't want to
Unless you feel terribly lonely.
Yeah, so if you don't want to fall into the trap of loneliness, it's like to keep looking for that one person. In this case, for you, it was Mark, because then once they help you to transition that most difficult space by getting you in, being there with you and knowing that you're not alone, you then reconnect with the other people who can offer you then, because then you're able to embrace the love.
You're right.
Right.
Because you've gotten your in a sense, that need met, that connection met with someone else.
Nice.
Now you can come back and say, hey, I'm back.
Nice.
In a way.
So I'm going to tell something to Patience. Patience, you only contributed where his intellectual stimulation is concerned. Okay? There are other people doing other things, so you are still one of the best, but probably the only sister that you adore.
No, I love my elder sister. So she does different things. So.
Okay, Patience is crying. So I'm just going to read a couple of comments that came on screen. But before I do that, right, I want to just ask you a question about. So when you think about embracing love, right? And when you say now you are learning how to ask for help, because I know how independent you are as a person, right? Not just physically, but just emotionally, right? I know you that you have that need, and even when you call on, you're like very careful that you're not getting into people's boundaries. So you tell, I'm sorry, and I hope I'm not, but this is the support I'm needing, right? When you're doing all of that, and for you to be able to do that, when you say, I now seek, I now receive, I now ask, right? What did it take for you to make that transition and find your worthiness again?
It's a tough one. I don't know whether it was any specific incident. All I know is that fear drove me to call people. My wife said, you're an introvert, so you've been calling a lot of people, so you become extrovert.
I love your wife. Oh, Dot, your sister, elder sister's here. Hi, Dot.
My elder sister, I would call her and spend like many hours talking to her nonsense. It's like she's like, okay, this is the same story I've heard every day. Okay, you're scared. Okay, it's all blur. Okay, what else now? And my family will make time, obviously. My friends will make time. I don't know whether there was a specific incident, but it's this driving fear of not wanting to be alone, I guess. During a time when you think you're going to go and lose all your sight. So it was that need to connect, to talk to people. And I found that talking to people actually made me feel better after talking to them, which was good.
But going to talk to them was difficult.
Yeah,
once
going
you
to
took-
them was difficult, but after that, I felt calmer.
Oh,
I felt okay. I'm in more control.
Nice.
Everything is going to be okay.
Nice.
It's not the end of the world. And I still have those kind of panic attacks once in a while. I'll call my friend, call my sister, call my wife. Josh, I don't really call him because he's busy.
Josh, you are the problem. It's not him, right? What's your wife's name?
Grace.
Grace, you are amazing. Lina Ali says your wife is amazing. So, Louis, I'm going to go in because there were some comments that was coming in, but I was so focused on what you were saying.
Sure.
I'm just going to read out the comments. Kirtana just put out all the comments that I missed, but let's start with George. George says, Louis, you have become much more personable, more human focused, a joy to be with. And he's asking you, what were the triggers to this wonderful transition from Louis, independent person, to Louis, the interdependent person?
I must say, TMI has a lot to do with it. In TMI, basically, if we didn't work as a team, we would never have succeeded. Right? George set it up that way. So George's philosophy is, whatever is your strength, just keep doing what is not, just give it to someone else. So I remember one day, Asmi, one of our consultants, was basically saying, Louis, you do the project management. And I told George, that's not my strength. Immediately, George gave it to Claire or someone, or John, I can't remember, one of them. Right? And that started the seed of, hey, wait a minute. Okay, you can't do it all by yourself. You need someone else to collaborate with. The implication there is that you need to talk to them. You need to communicate, right? And in order to communicate, then you need to build rapport and trust with them first,
Right.
so that they will like you,
Right.
and you will like them.
Right.
So it's not going to be all about tasks. You're going to get to know them at the human level. So I think that started the seed. As my vision started to deteriorate, and I started to depend on, say, Christine more to do the work, or Claire, then it became much more clearer to me that if I don't talk, if I don't not just talk about the work, but care about people at a human level,
Nice.
and talk about other things, it's not going to get done now.
Nice.
And then when I was totally out of the work sphere, then there's nothing to talk about in terms of work. It's all about other stuff that you need to talk about.
Right.
Because fear was driving me to talk to people,
Right.
I started to talk about other things now.
Nice. I have to say, I'm so glad. now we can talk about other things that work. Thank you, John. Thank you for transforming Louis that way. So I'm going to read a couple more other comments. Michael Teo says, so heartwarming too. And this is important for you, Louis, because I know you said yes to me. And I'm not sure what you were thinking when you said yes, but I wanted you to be here because you have inspired me. And I know anyone who watches this video will be inspired. So I'm going to read to you the people who are inspired right now, okay? So Michael Dio says, so heartwarming to hear this story with so much love during the 4th day of Chinese New Year. Thank you, Louise and Malar, for the inspiration. Thank you, Michael. Sundar Raj says, salutes to your complete family for being the pillar of what you are today. So yes, thank you very much. I think Lina Ali said, Louis, your story is just so amazing. So inspiring. I believe that too. Sorry, Kirtana, can you go back? I haven't finished reading the earlier one. I believe that too, talking and having discussion with different groups of people, that's important, right? Fantastic. And I think there's one more, right? Cheryl, I love this live setup. Yes, good. I think James said something. Eugene Hua says, very inspiring. It's a really huge honor to have you with us. Whoever Eugene is.
Yeah, Eugene is a great technical support.
Nice.
I'll work with him now.
Thank you, Eugene. Cheryl says, Louis, your story is uplifting. All right. Oh, James says, stay strong. I know you are in good hands when I heard that you have a supportive spouse. That's great. Insight is more important to human being. That's what Sundar Raj says. So with that, or another link can say, I'm glad I joined this talk today. Thank you, Mallory and Luis. Not sure who that person is, but whoever that person is, thank you very much. We'll keep reading the comments, but right now, or now another one. We are so blessed and grateful. Now, Thriving Talent, we've got a lot of work for you to talk about. So the next interview, you'll talk about Michael. Okay, Michael? Together with your sister Patience and your tech lead Eugene and the entire team, we love you. All right. So with that, I wanted to hear what Luis has been, and George gave us a fantastic introduction about the beautiful person or the human side of the intelligent Luis. Now, if you're wondering, right, how did this guy transition? Not only transition, but wrote 12 ebooks on coaching. Now, I'm so it's disgusting to know that, I'm still figuring out how to get my first book out. But before that, I think you would have known that by now, Luis inquires, he asks a lot of great questions, and such a brilliant guy, brilliant mind. And I want to just introduce you to why he might actually be a good coach, if at all you want to get in touch with him. With that, I'm going to just share a video and let's see what this person says about Luis and see whether you can guess who this person is. Okay, let's hear the let's watch the video.
What do you look for in a coach? From my perspective, there are 3 or 4 things that you look out for. First is the coach knowledgeable? Does the person know the field? There are 2 fields where Luis is very knowledgeable in, and one is leadership. He spent 15 years with us in People Potential, and he must have read during that time several hundred books on leadership to help design programs. And the second is productivity. He was part of the core team that designed a program for productivity, and he then took it, he became a coach. It was a billable product. He did lots of one-on-one coaching, including with some really technical, highly intelligent people in a statutory body in Singapore. And so he's very experienced in productivity too. Linked to productivity, of course, is performance, but primarily productivity. And finally, you want a coach to be a friend, the empathetic, right? And if you do engage Luis as a coach, you'll find that quite quickly he'll become a friend. Last, it's not absolutely necessary, but it's always good to have a coach who's intelligent, who can perceive things in a certain way, follow the logic in one's thinking, and Luis won't fail you in that. So if you are looking to engaging a coach, he's the man. We do engage him, by the way, now as a coach in People Potential for both the leadership and productivity.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, so you're back.
Nice of him.
It's very nice of Terry Netter, right? Terry, he still loves you, just that the love came a little bit later. So that's Terry's way of, telling, and for Terry to acknowledge someone is intelligent, All right. So I met Luis when, he was with PP, and, he's been there for 15 years. So thank you, Terry, for making the video, because Terry is, I don't know, is he more introverted than you? No. Okay. So thank you, Terry, for that. So you now know that, I'm sitting beside a very intelligent guy who's read hundreds of books, and why he will make a fantastic coach. So tell us, right? Terry says, Malal forced my hand, Luis.
Sure.
Sure. He believes you, Terry. Yeah, you know how difficult it is to get Terry to write, to do a video like that. So yes, so thank you, Terry. I know you can't say you love him, but I know you love him, and yeah. Now, so tell me, when you found your purpose, and when you said, you found a reason to make an impact and all of that, right? How did you get to write 12 books? And tell us about these books you've written.
Well, yeah, so basically one of the things I asked myself, and again, it's from conversations with George, Mark, Terry, and Marianne, his wife, is what is the thing that I can contribute now, given my visual impairment? And I think the answer would be knowledge.
Mm. Mm.
knowledge about certain types of skills.
Mm.
So I thought it through and I said, well, I can research. I'm good at researching. And nowadays, with blind people, they can operate computers quite well because they have software that have the ability to talk back to you.
Mm.
So you can read back what's on the website or read back what's on your document and that kind of stuff. So
Mm.
or read back what's in a book or even audiobooks many audiobooks you can download. So that's very helpful because that could help me, research.
Mm.
At the same time, I could output, right? I could type.
Mm.
So there were quite a number of hours I was typing and learning how to type without having to look at the keyboard.
Mm.
So I said, well, I have knowledge about soft skills, communication, leadership. I could technically type all this out.
Mm. Mm.
And so I said, oh, maybe I'll create all these little ebooks with these little topics that might be interesting for both young graduates or even young people to learn about how to communicate better or how to read better. And so that's where the idea came from.
Mm.
Looking at what I could still do
Mm.
and what again I could output to give maybe value to some groups of people.
Mm. Mm. Nice. And 12 books.
Well, technically,
I'm digesting it.
technically it was 4 main topics. So
Right.
I started with communication, then I went to storytelling, presentation skills, and productivity because I was most familiar with these kind of, I guess, subject matter because I've been doing it and studying it for years. So then I said to myself, so I've created these ebooks, and what next, right?
Mm.
Then I said, oh, actually, it can help me in my coaching practice because I'll create this, in a sense, a textbook, right? So here's a textbook for storytelling.
Mm.
But at the same time, I'll create a coach version, meaning that this would help the coach their coachee on how to be a better storyteller, right? Then I would have companion coachee guide, which would help the coachee become a better coachee when they were, being coached on storytelling.
Right.
So these are the activities that you would do, and this is what you need to present back to your coach and get feedback from your coach on. And so, in a sense, that would be a set, right? So it would be kind of like a little textbook, then a coach version, a coachee version, and then I said, okay, I'll create a workshop now out of that. So I actually have one workshop, but I haven't codified it completely. But so it's a workshop, participant manual, coach guide, coachee guide, and that was one topic, and I had 4 topics. So in a sense, I had 12 books left, right? But that project is still ongoing. I still want to create more topics.
Sure. You've read hundreds of books, We need to get it out at some point, right?
I think the great thing nowadays, though, is you have lots of videos on YouTube. Right. So I think that was a boon for me because in my books, what I do is I don't just give you the content, but I'll link you to certain videos where you can see how it's demonstrated. So it's not just use eye contact, but here are some videos that would actually help you see how eye contact can be used, effectively in a presentation.
Right.
So I think nowadays there's actually lots of stuff, but you need someone who can codify that for you in a digestible format. Yeah. So that was the initial idea.
Okay. So you've written 12 books in 4 areas right now, and each area comes with 3 books: one for the coach, one for the coachee, and one is the workbook.
One is the main text which the coachee and coach should
use
read
together.
Yeah, read together.
Right. Nice. So, you've never shown me the book, but never mind. So, if someone wants to, who gets access to this book, and how do they get access to this book?
Well, if someone wants to be coached in a particular area, like these 4 areas for now, they can come talk to me. Go to my website, email me, and we can start a conversation. Usually, my philosophy is more of we kind of have to get to know each other and see whether there is a synergy that we can have as a coach and coachee. and we work from there. So if the person comes to me and says, oh, okay, these are the areas I have, and by the way, one of them is this kind of skill, and if I have that material, then we'll work through the material together.
So you use this book to work with your coaching?
Ideally, yes. Again, sometimes it's not so clear cut because that skill is not in my library yet, right? So then I have to just go by memory and pointing them to certain resources.
Which you always do anyway.
Yeah.
So for those who are here with us, you can see on screen louischan.me. Now that's where you connect with Louis if you want to, have the initial conversation and have this very intelligent guy as your coach. Let me warn you, he asks the most useful, impactful questions that keeps you thinking for a couple of days, and for you to get back. So that's how you contact louischan.me. You can connect with him and do the initial conversation to see if you're a pair or if you're a match, like the match he found with Mark, right? So that whether he really can get into your shoes to ask you the right type of questions is what you're saying, right? And with Louis' experience, he's helped a lot of people. So if you want a different experience, you can connect with him and see what actually happens, right?
Sure.
Now, Louis, do you think you would have written these books if you didn't transition or you didn't have this difficulty?
Not.
Say louder, lah.
Probably not.
So that's interesting, right? Tell me, like, and that's a question I've been like. So okay, so if you didn't have this difficulty, what do you think you would have been doing with your time?
I would still be working for George lah.
So George, okay, all right. So okay. And what sort of work do you think you would be doing?
I think it'll still be relatively interesting work, George. But I think this has taken me into a different direction, and I think it's good. I'm happy where I am.
Oh.
Right. I'm happy with what I'm doing right now. Not that I'm not happy when I was in TMI. It's not that at all. It's just that I found something new that's exciting for me. Yeah.
Nice. It's so nice to hear that from you, that you are happy.
Yeah, that doesn't really come out of my mouth quite often.
Louis is happy. So, what do you miss
What do I miss?
about having a vision?
What do I miss about having a vision? I miss watching movies. I miss being able to go for a walk and see the bright blue sky and not be afraid that the sunlight is going to be too bright for me. I miss the ability to see nature as I would if I had my sight. Definitely. Yeah.
Thank you. So last question before I go on to rapid fire. I don't think we have any question for your audience. So for those who are, Jacqueline, your story is powerful and inspiring. There's indeed light in darkness. Thank you for sharing.
You're most welcome.
That's my amazing cousin, Jacqueline. Now, I lost my question. So, for those who are watching and who would be watching later, I know we all draw a lot of strength and inspiration from your story, right? What wisdom, insight would you leave them with? Because I think while your loss is huge and obvious, I think we all go through different types of experience of worthiness, loss of independence, and it's so difficult for us to embrace love from people because sometimes we are so trained to become independent that our worthiness is actually in independence, right? And what I loved when I was talking to you and you said, we were talking about all sorts of topic, and you told me that one of your greatest transition or insight was actually learning how to receive love.
Yes.
Right? what insights would you like to share with others who are watching and listening in terms of embracing love?
I think, and this can be very difficult depending on who you're talking to. I think you need to find people that you're safe with. You need to find that people or persons that you feel safe. And that's number one, where you can share your heart to them and expose your vulnerabilities. Not obviously everything all at once. You need to test the waters, right? But if I were to redo it, I would be more vulnerable. I would not be so task oriented, which I am in general, right? And also at work, it's okay. It's okay to let your guard down. Of course, you need to feel safe with that person, but you need to be able to receive love from people, because that makes you more human. It makes you more human, and people resonate with that. People want to give you love. People want to give you encouragement and support, but they don't know whether you will receive it if you don't ask them, if you don't expose, that side of yourself to them. So I think that's the insight that I've had over the last 6 months or a year. We are very, very well conditioned to show independence, show we can do it on our own, show strength, but we are not very good at exposing ourselves and asking for help often. And by doing that, your whole world actually opens up tremendously. The networks, the kinds of people that you will meet, the kinds of people that will come across your path that you would never expect, becomes much more significant. It's a richer and fuller life. Of course, I'm not asking you to be like a total, totally dependent on people's opinion of you, or totally expose yourself to. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, for me anyway, expose yourself, ask for help, seek encouragement. Okay, it's okay to be weak, because we can't be strong all the time for everyone, for everything.
Nice. Thank you. I know I said our last question, but I have another question to add on to the last question. Before I read, Sudip is here. Sudip Mohandas. Yeah, he's in the US, I think now. I'll read his comment shortly. How did embracing love, the transition of being able to ask for help because you question your worthiness, and so asking or receiving love was difficult, and now you've learned how to receive love, right? How did learning how to embrace the love that you were getting from people at the right time, with the right people, when you're safe, and all of that put together, how did that now anchor you back in your worthiness, if I may ask?
I never thought of that. I think it gives you a stability to know that, hey, if you're about to fall, there are people that are there to catch you, and you'll be okay. I don't know whether it anchored me back in my worthiness, but it gave me more stability, and not feeling that I was going to break down at every single moment of the day,
Right.
continually. And that stability then helped me think and act in a way where I felt, hey, I could make a meaningful contribution back to those who love me, or the community or society as a whole. And that gave me meaning, right? Or that increased my sense of significance of meaning in my life. So maybe it was a roundabout way, but in a sense that stability would help me do things that created meaning, right? Maybe you might call it worthiness, but basically, that was the root.
Does your stability does it equal to a state of calmness, being calm?
Yeah, right now, yes. Right now, yes, because whenever I go out, things become blur by the day. and that freaks me out. So having to talk about when I can talk to someone, when I can, converse with someone, when I feel someone understands me and can let it all out, it makes me more calm. My anxiety goes away, and I become more stable, I think.
Nice, nice. What I really appreciate about you, Louis, during this space is that I realize that I cannot get you, and I really appreciate when I tell you I don't get it. Can you help me understand? I love the way you explain. Like when you say it's too bright, and I'm scared, right? I know I don't get it. Like, is the brightness causing you physical pain? I don't know. And what I appreciate every time we have a conversation, when you say something like that about what you're experiencing, and when I ask you, you give me a lot of courage to be able to ask you to give me permission to enter your world, because I really otherwise will lose out on our connection.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, and I don't even think I have the capacity to know what do you mean by scared. I don't know, right? And when you explain that, I don't know whether I am really there, but I know that I'm reaching one step at a time to understand what you're saying.
I think also, and this thing, something that Josh mentioned, is I become a better listener and a better explainer probably, and my memory has improved. So I'm talking much more now because I realize in order for me to communicate to someone, I need to talk more. so I'm doing that more actually.
Right.
Listening better, I think, and talking more. Don't know whether my younger sister would agree, but yeah.
Okay, younger sister, this is where you come and say you agree or something like that, right? No, but you've always been a great listener, but to say, and you've always articulated well, but I think to see you helping me to bridge into your world, of course, takes a lot more effort, and that in my world means more. Lena says, with all that you've shared, Louis, I'm really it really touched my heart when you said I'm happy, and that's so beautiful. That's what Lina Ali says. Can we just read Sudeep's one? Because Sudeep had a very interesting idea before I get you onto rapid fire. Glad you're having this conversation, Malar. Thank you, Sudeep. Thank you for tuning in all the way from US. I think it would be good to have closed captioning for live sessions to help the deaf. We must also ensure the audio files are used more for those who are blind. So thank you. I think this is such an important thing, because on my own, I wouldn't have thought about it. Thank you for the idea. I really hope that we would be able to do that a little bit more in the future. So thank you, Sudeep, because we've never thought about it, right? George is asking a very important question. You must answer this, okay? When are you going on TEDx, Louis?
Yeah, he's been pushing me lah. One step at a time lah, George. This is the first step, George.
Okay. So the first step is to come onto Malar's show. The next step is to go to go on to TEDx, and I'm very sure TEDx is actually going to call you soon. After this interview. No. So please share this video so that he cannot say no to, or he can't postpone TEDx. Patience say, I think we're both becoming better listeners and empathizers. So she doesn't want to give you all the credit that your little sister. She wants to share the credit. Patience, I get you. All right, Nine, that's from Patience. So are you ready for your rapid fire, my friend?
All right.
I really need to fire up. All right, so you're just going to finish the sentences. What scares me most?
Being alone.
The greatest growth I've experienced during my transition.
Not just depending on myself, depending on others.
Greatest growth. Whoa, being visually impaired. Our program is known as Being Whole, Being Me, right? Being visually impaired, I find my wholeness.
Being visually impaired, I find my wholeness in doing things that are meaningful, not just to me, but to others as well. And that involves an exchange of love somehow, however we define it.
Nice. Being me today means?
Being me today means challenging myself every day to get up and be brave to go through the day.
Wow. My condition makes me an even better coach. Now you have to blow your own trumpet. Come on, do it.
My condition makes me
A better coach.
no. my condition makes me empathize with people more. I see things differently, obviously, but I feel differently now. I'm not as impatient. I am impatient, but I'm not as impatient as I used to be. And I used to minimize internally, I did this. I used to minimize people's problems. People will come to me and say, I'm like, it's nothing. What are you? But now I don't do that as much. Right? Now I'm like, okay, obviously this person is going through some serious issues as they define it. I need to love them by listening to them.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you. And now I can say I love you.
I love you too.
Yeah. He said this in public. He loves me too. Louis, thank you so much. So, okay. Now, Michael Teo has got you into more trouble now. He says he will arrange for your first TEDx talk.
Oh no, gosh.
Okay, so George asked the question. Michael is going to arrange and just tell us when it is so that we can all watch it. So for people who are watching us and for those who've been commenting and sharing and sharing the space, for me, the sacred space with Louise today. Thank you very much for joining us, spending your more than an hour with us listening to Louise. He has inspired me. I hope he has inspired you. I thank you for joining Being Whole, Being Me, Series 41. And, if you're inspired, go there, find your meaning, anchor yourself, find your worthiness, and do whatever you need to do to lead a meaningful life like Louis Chen. So this is Malar Vili from Hearts and Minds Development Center signing off. Kong Si Fa Chai. I know it's the 4th day. With that, I'm signing off. And, we meet again next Friday, still at the same time, with another exciting guest. Of course, I will reveal that on Monday. So stay safe. George says thank you, Mallory. Thank you, Louise. Love you too, George.
Thanks, George.
Yes. You're going to say you love him? No?
Yeah, we love you too, George.
We love. Okay, we are sharing the love for you, George. Thank you for bringing out the softness in. Lina says thank you. So thank you, everybody. See you next Friday. Continue to stay safe because we've got a lot of good work to do. Bye.
All right.
Louis Chen. The first time I met you, I'd already known that you're a smart guy, so I offered you a job and you rejected it. I can't believe it. I was persistent and I and the whole team are very happy that you accepted the job. We all know that you've made a big difference, Louis. You know you've made a big difference. And one of the highlights was you going on stage in Rome in front of a group of your colleagues who are in Rome with you. And you accepted the Innovation of the Year award, which you were the driving force behind. And normally people would make a speech, but Louis Chen takes the award and sits down. That's the humble Louis that we've come to love. And you've been through your challenging times with the loss of your eyesight. And what I will say is what I see now. I see a guy who seems more humorous, more personable, and actually you're really busy. It's not unusual for me to call you and you say, George, I'm busy. Can we talk another time? Well, congratulations. Today, it's Malarvili that you're talking to on LinkedIn. I look forward to that WebEx talk that will feature the Louis that we love and admire. The talk will be relevant to everyone. How to lead your best life. Congratulations, Louis. You're leading your best life and you're inspiring many people, including the people on Mother's webinar right now. You take care.